All right, it's been about 48 hours since the Wall Westbrook trade. Every YouTuber, every hoop head has given their hot take, breaking news reaction. Now, if you're new to this channel, Athletic Alchemy, this is a Hoops Head channel. This is about basketball, right? But I'm not here to break news for you. I'm not here to give you a reaction. I can't believe it. Like, it happened, right? I take a little bit longer to digest what's just happened and then try to give you a little more thought-provoking takes. Now, sometimes things are just what they are, right? And I think this one's pretty simple. Look, Westbrook, Wall are very similar in the sense that they're going to suck up your space. Neither of them can shoot, right? Westbrook is obviously the more proven commodity because despite his injuries, he bounces back like an Iron Man, where Wall hasn't played in 18, 20 months? I know that John Wall is very excited to wear all red all the time, okay? But I think this is much more about James Harden, right? And the ramifications of this trade. The writing is on the wall. Harden and Houston, they're going to blow it up. Where's James Harden going to go? I'll say this about Harden. You know, first it was Dwight Howard, right? Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, right? They brought in star after star to be his running mate. And it seems like time and time again, what's ultimately happening is James Harden is the "it's not you, it's me" guy. That's what he gets told, right? I think that's what happens. Now, they try to smooth things over and say mutually parted ways or, you know, they're still boys, they're still tough. It seems like every guy that comes in to play with Harden eventually reaches a conclusion of like, look, it's not you, James. It's not you. We still cool. It's me. I need to get out of here, right? And we all know what that means. Ultimately, it means it's you, James. It's you. For whatever reason it is, your lifestyle, your competitive spirit when it's on the line, the amount that you need the ball, I think it's a combination of things that ultimately every guy that comes in there, and it usually happens very soon, it's happening quicker and quicker. It's not you, it's me. I gotta get out of here, right? And so I want to take a look at some possible trades for James Harden. Now, we've all heard and speculated Brooklyn, Philadelphia, right? Those are the two main targets. But I wanted to have a little fun, right? I wanted to propose some, they're not realistic per se, but shocking things happen, right? And just have some fun with some trade propositions for James Harden. Now, for some of you, understand what I'm saying here. I'm not saying I want these trades to happen. I'm not saying they're going to happen. And I'm not even saying they're necessarily fair. I'm just putting them out there as a thought experiment as we have fun because, again, the writing is on the wall. I think Harden's out of there, and it may not necessarily happen the way we expect it to. So let's get into the trades. The Chicago Bulls could offer a package of Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, and then Thaddeus Young would essentially be a cap filler. Now, Zach LaVine, 25 years old, he's in the prime, entering the prime of his career, right? He's got 2 years left. And then Lauri Markkanen is still on his rookie deal. So you're getting a mixture of a guy in his prime that can take over that role. And LaVine would love the volume and all the shots that James Harden had, right? You could easily slide him in there. Now, I'm not saying he would be Harden production-wise, but he'd be up for the task. And then Lauri Markkanen is a modern stretch 4-5 who the Houston Rockets would retain the right to, and they could build towards the future. Meanwhile, you sling James Harden over to Chicago. You've still got Kobe White. I know that's saying a lot. No, they've just drafted Patrick Williams. You've got Wendell Carter Jr. There's not a whole lot around, but Chicago is a franchise, they're so far removed from their glory days and they've been stuck in mediocrity for so long. It would just be a move to draw in some excitement and perhaps, attract another star to a big market. A lot of NBA players have connections to Chicago and grew up around that area. And so you bring in Harden, with plenty of years to go, a couple young pieces around him, and you try to attract another star. How about Michael Jordan and the Charlotte Hornets? Now, Gordon Hayward, I don't think he can be traded till February 6th. But that covers most of the money, right? So you send over Gordon Hayward, and once again, that contract, I don't know, man. I'm not here to talk about that. But the real prize of the deal would be young LaMelo Ball. If the Houston Rockets and LaMelo showed well early this season, they feel like, okay, we can rebuild around LaMelo Ball. Now, they could also send them PJ Washington or Bridges, another young player, to kind of fill the salaries. So why would Charlotte do this? Well, why does Michael Jordan do a lot of things? It's funny, Michael Jordan, no one questioned anything he did on the court, but we question everything he's done off, right? That's kind of how it works. But what would Charlotte be left with? Well, you've got Scary Terry, James Harden, Malik Monk, not a whole lot. But again, Charlotte, it would really depend on how much they like LaMelo Ball. Do they feel like LaMelo is going to be their franchise player? Or maybe Jordan's just impatient and he jumps at the opportunity at adding, a top 5, maybe at this point, top 10 player in James Harden. Now, I want to clarify this. I don't think the Warriors brass, Lacob, Myers, I don't think you do this just simply because of what Klay Thompson has done for the organization, right? Like, this would be extremely cold-blooded. You want to talk about a business move? It's a business, man. I'm a businessman, right? That's what it would be. But the reality of the situation is, if we're talking deals for James Harden, hear me out here. Klay, obviously has that big contract, so that works sending it to Houston. And then what you presumably would do is send that Minnesota pick from this draft class, top 3 protected, to Houston. And from Houston's perspective, you say, okay, well, we're going to get back a 31-year-old Klay Thompson, obviously coming off 2 catastrophic injuries. But, we like our chances. We like his work ethic, his size, and the shooting won't leave him. So we hope that he can return to being a star caliber player. And then, boy, this draft class, I know it's early, y'all, but damn, right? Like, Minnesota messed up. Minnesota messed up with that pick because, hey, maybe they keep it and they land in the top 3. What are the odds of that? Not great. But it looks like there's going to be about 10 prospects entering this 21 class that would have gone top 3 this year. And so that pick has a lot of equity. And I think it's going to grow throughout this college season. And then you turn around and you look from the Warriors' perspective, and now you're looking at a starting lineup of Steph Curry, James Harden, Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, James Wiseman. I've just named 6 players. Obviously, one of those guys goes to the bench. Hey, let's bring James off the bench, right? Harden's the most expensive 6-man ever. Now, obviously, he would be in the starting lineup. You probably bring like Oubre or Wiggins off the bench, right? You see from the Warriors' perspective, at least on paper, all of a sudden, they look kind of like a super team again, if you will, a little bit, depending on how Wiseman performs and how much you like Wiggins and Oubre, right? But they look loaded. But once again, like I said, let me be clear. Would I do this? No, I simply wouldn't, just because of the humanity of it. To be honest with you. Like, would I do it in 2K? Yeah, I'd probably do it. But in the real world, I'm not doing that to Klay Thompson. But again, trades to trigger you. The Los Angeles Clippers. But it's not Paul George. It's Kawhi Leonard going to Houston. Along with Lou Williams. He's played for Houston like 1, 2, 3, 4 times, right? So why in the world would this happen? Now, a lot of you have probably read the story that came out this last week about the strife within the Clippers locker room, the beefs, Paul George, just the lack of camaraderie and chemistry, and why they ultimately fell apart in this bubble. There was a lot made about the star treatment of Paul George, but mostly Kawhi. He needs his own space, all this stuff. Look, what if Jerry West and Ballmer have decided like Kawhi is just too much of a diva? He shows no leadership. He's holding us hostage with this deal where he could bolt on us anyway, right? And let's just get rid of him now and bring in James Harden, who we're going to have for the next 3 or 4 years, and Paul George can play alongside him. Now, all of a sudden, Paul George, it almost fits better, right? When you look at Paul George and Harden, they fit better than Paul George and Kawhi, at least in my opinion. And then if you're Houston, you say, well, Kawhi's just going to leave. Well, Kawhi is a mercenary. They take the Raptors route in this scenario where they hope that he opts in after this year and they get him for another year. But then you look at Houston's roster, and now you've got Wall, Kawhi, Christian Woods, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, Lou's back there, right? DeMarcus Cousins. And it kind of makes sense for their roster. And it lets them take another, swing at the plate here and hope that Kawhi can stay. If not, then they've freed themselves of the cap and they can officially start a rebuild. And then my last trade is to the Brooklyn Nets, like everybody has been talking about. But it's not for all their young players. What if it was for Kyrie? What if it was for Kyrie Irving? You say, oh, this is just ridiculous. Look, man, I'm not sure if KD is aware of it, but I don't know if you've noticed, Durant wears everything on his face, right? Like, Durant, you're not good at lying. And I like that. I like transparency in people. That's fine, but I think he has to be a little more self-aware that you wear everything on your sleeve, KD. We know when you're being dishonest, and he proceeded this week during media day or whatever you want to call it, Zoom day, to say that I don't know where the Harden rumors came from, and me and Harden haven't talked about playing together. But I try to warn my kids and some of the kids that I've worked with in the past, one of my favorite sayings is the grass isn't always greener, right? And has that already kicked in for Kevin Durant? Because a lot of us, myself included, felt like his decision to go to Brooklyn was a terrible decision for his career. And to attach his wagon, to pair himself along a dude that's so inconsistent in Kyrie Irving. And I don't mean his play, I just mean his personality, right? And so now they've spent a lot of time together, I'm guessing, during this quarantine and this layover. Has Durant already figured out that the grass isn't always greener? And he's like, oh man, I don't know if this is going to work. I can't play with this dude for the next 3 or 4 years. And he's gone behind his back and he's like, yo, let's go get James. I played with James in OKC, right? Again, is this going to happen? Probably not. But man, would you talk about the headlines? I started the video by saying this isn't a breaking news channel. This isn't a reaction channel. But if Kyrie was traded for James Harden, you'd get my reaction. You'd get my reaction right away, right? That'd be shocking. Once again, y'all, just having fun with these trade propositions. But what I do think is the bottom line is the big takeaway from the Wall Westbrook trade is James Harden's next. And of course, Houston's not going to say that because they don't want to give up any leverage. My guess is he'd go out east. And yeah, maybe it will happen for LeVert, Dinwiddie, Allen, and all of their young players. I think that would be a mistake for Brooklyn long term. Does Philadelphia go get him? Are they willing to part with Ben Simmons? Because Sixers fans, I'm sorry, Daryl Morey, Tobias Harris isn't getting it done. Like, come on now. It's going to have to be Ben. But then Ben Simmons and John Wall, they're like, you shoot it. No, you shoot it. No, you shoot it. Who's going to shoot the ball? Eric Gordon will shoot it. Anyway, tell me what y'all think. Propose one crazy trade for James Harden. I'm out, y'all.